This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Her Story, the journey to winning a seat at the table. I'm your host, Mary Jane Murray, and this program is a series of conversations with inspirational women who have amazing stories to tell. And stories are a tapestry of lifelong experiences and events. Let's explore the journey. My guest today is Suneet Kukreja.
Yep.
Or something of that. I'm sure you'll correct me. And she was born and raised in India and immigrated to Canada in 2015. She has a master's degree in molecular biology and biochemistry, and she also has a master's in education. And currently, Suneet is the program coordinator for the Grey Bruce Settlement and Language Services, as well as she teaches at Georgian College. In 2022, Suneet was elected as a council member for the City of Owen Sound. And Suneet calls Canada her home, and Owen Sound is where her heart is. We often see very accomplished women in interesting roles, and we know that that spark can emerge at any age and at any stage, and this is Suneet's journey. So welcome, and thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with us. It's lovely to see you again.
Well, thank you, Mary Jane, for this lovely opportunity to talk about myself. And especially being a woman and coming from a wonderful woman like yourself. And thank you for inviting me over to this show today. Yeah.
Well, you've had an interesting journey. And Suneet, you and I met very briefly on the campaign trail, and you had no idea who I was. And I just said to you, I'm going to call you in January. And you said, okay, not knowing the results of what was going to happen with the election. So I am, whether or not you became a council member or not, I just really wanted to hear your journey. But you started off in Punjab, in India. And can you tell us about your early years there?
Yeah, sure. Like you mentioned, Mary Jane, I was born and brought up in the northern part of India. And when we talk about countries, so here in Canada, if you travel a few kilometers in any direction, you find the same kind of culture, same language, even same stores. But in India, it's completely a different geographic situation. So you travel a few kilometers north, east, south, or west. So it's a different culture, different language spoken, and different food. So everything is completely different. So I was born and brought up in the northern part of India. So the state where I was born was Punjab. And I was born into a Sikh household, which is a warrior tribe in the northern part of India. So grew up to a business farmer household. So my father was really passionate about women empowerment. So he ensured that all of us, including my mom, myself, and my siblings, they have the same element. Always motivated us to do things how we wanted to do, always encouraged us. So I grew up, did my graduation from a residential boarding school up north further into, it was a residential school in the Himalayas at that point of time. So yeah, so that's where I did my high school. And then I think for my graduation, I was at my hometown in Punjab, which is Amritsar. So I always had an interest to do something in the science field. So I ended up doing a bachelor's in medical field, and then ended up doing a master's in molecular biology and biochemistry. But then down the line, I realized that I didn't want to work in a lab. So I wanted to pursue my passion of working with children and teaching and sharing my knowledge that I had gained over the years. And I'm also a firm believer that education does have the power to transform lives. So then the second move of my life, and I ended up doing master's in education to start a teaching career in one of the universities in India. And that's what I did for good 16 years while I was there.
Well, it sounds like really in your early years, you had that encouragement for women to pursue your goals and your dreams, and that came from your family. And your pivotal moment was when you decided you didn't want to live in a lab. You wanted to follow your passion of working with people and teaching. Now, with that journey, but you also made a big decision in 2015 to immigrate to Canada. What was that decision to emigrate?
Well, Mary Jane, like growing up, I met my husband during my graduation years. So I met him basically in high school, and then we both married in 2003 after almost dating for 8 years. So he was a lawyer back home in India, and he practiced criminal law. Happy at his professions, I was happy what I was doing. But then later on, I just have one daughter, and now she's 16. So when we decided to move to immigrate to Canada, it was a big decision for us. But then the force behind it was that the field where my husband worked, it was all associated with crime, and the nature of his work was intense. And then he, at some point of time, did visit Canada with one of his friends who was a lawyer at that point of time in Owen Sound. So, and he always said, like, you guys should come here, and it is an amazing country. So, like, not that India is not an amazing country. It does have some really good aspects. But then for us, it was just that we just had one child, and he came here, he loved it here. And he's like, no, I'm appalled by the beauty of this place, the calmness, the not a very hectic lifestyle here. And I know it's different when you go to the cities and you find the same kind of lifestyle. But I think when we decided to make the move, it was a big move for all of us. So we did have to keep in mind, like we both were at the top of our careers, but then we decided to take a move for a better life for our daughter. So that is when the motivation happened. And in 2015, I think it was the 31st of March, it was the year when all the pipes downtown and up the hills had frozen. And it was the worst winter that had affected. And here we are, got picked up from the airport at 2:00 at night and made it to Owen Sound at, I think, 4:30 in the morning, and never got a chance to go anywhere else. So that's why I say I have a special bond with Owen Sound, and here I am.
And yes, and I can see the snow falling in the background too. So yeah. It's quite a snowy day that we have. But those are really big decisions that families make when it's a choice to immigrate. And one of the things that is really important is how finding your feet in a new community and starting to knit into that community, at the same time being respectful of your culture, religion, and your traditions, and holding those treasures as well. And then how do you knit into your new community?
Yeah, I find it was really hard at the start, Mary Jane, because we both felt and we weren't young when we decided to move. We were in our late 30s when we both decided to make the big move. And at that point of time, we felt like teenagers being kicked out of your own house, right? And didn't know anything about Canada, didn't know how things work here. Uh, we both spoke quite a bit of English because his line of work was like he spoke in English, and mine was because I taught in English for most part of my career. So language barrier was not there, but yes, I think I still have a little bit of accent when I speak. So yep. So when we moved up here, I think the first 3 months were really a game changer for us. Uh, we couldn't find jobs. And at that point of time, 2015, Owen Sound was a different place. There were not a whole lot of jobs available out there. So I think I applied at every store, wherever I could see the opportunity to find a job for myself. And so did my husband. But we also had to be mindful that uh, we had a young daughter with us. She was 8 at that point of time, and to be with her at the same time, we didn't want to leave her alone, right? So he found a job at nighttime so that he could study in the morning, and then I found an early morning job at the YMCA Rec Center. With the shift would start at 5:30 and go until 2. And then after that, I would pack my bag, go to the college, teach there, right? And then come back, and then he would take off. So it was quite a roller coaster ride for a year. We both didn't know what hit us. Uh, it was completely different in terms of culture, in terms of how things go on. But then we both were motivated that we want to make a life here. We don't want to go back. And he wanted to pursue law here, and I wanted to teach here the passion that what I was doing. So we both stayed on track and did our accreditations. He cleared his bar exams at that point of time, and I did my WES accreditation so that I was able to teach into the colleges. I also, because I had a bachelor's degree, I still had to do a course at the Queen's University to bring my education up to the Canadian standards, which I think is really important, right? Mm-hmm. So I think for 2 years it was a difficult time for us. But again, what helped us move forward was the amazing support from friends. I didn't know anybody here, didn't have any family here. We knew only one person, his childhood friend, who picked us up from the airport and brought us here. And at that time, he ran the Owen Sound in motel. So we were in the motel for almost a month till we found an apartment and then started our journey into what we both wanted to do. But I think over the time, it's been 8 years, all I have received from this community is immense support, encouragement, motivation, right? And I think that was the key factor in helping me move forward as a woman, as a mom, as a person coming from a different country, as an immigrant. I have never felt out of place. And I have always had, like, there was always some motivation in every person whom I met. So that's how my transition happened here in Owen Sound.
Well, that was quite a journey. But what I was hearing from you was that you were always optimistic that you were going to get to where you wanted to be, and you worked very hard at staying on track and building your family and building your life here. So, at what point did you feel that you had a voice in our community? Because it takes I think, a lot of courage to actually put yourself out there to want to work at another level in your community. So at what point did you feel comfortable and feel that you had a voice in our community?
Yep. I think the first 1 year I struggled, to be honest enough. I was homesick. I missed my mom. I missed the comforts of my hometown in India. And I think for 6 months I was whining and I was like, no, 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 I want to go back. Then one day I'm like, no, I don't want to go back. I want to be here, right? And I think the first motivation came from a bunch of women who I worked with. Uh, and they would always be a key pivotal support in my um, lifetime here. So I met these wonderful, amazing women who worked as my co-workers at the rec center and with immense experience. And they would say, oh, no, you can do it, right? If I would say like, I don't think so, I can do this thing. And they would say, no, yeah, try it, you can do it, right? And then I am a very positive person. You will never see me nagging, you will never see me talking negative, right? I always see uh, that there's always sunshine at the end of the road. So I'm that kind of a person. So slowly in my work at the rec, and then how when I would learn something, the appreciation that you would get from people if you did something good, right? So that, I think the love and the support that I got at that point of time in both my jobs um, made me realize my true passion that, I can work with people. And this is an amazing community. And I think I need to give back. So that is how the thought of standing up for the council elections came in my head. So it didn't come in this tenure. It came to me 4 years back when I first met a few candidates while they were campaigning for the elections. And it was so interesting to see different agendas, what they were passionate about, what are the things that they wanted to change. And I think the first individual I came across was Carol. So I did hear her campaign. I'm like, she's pretty passionate about what she's talking about. And then I had a few others follow. So it was in backdrop of my mind that I have received amazing support from this community. And there are women out there like myself, right? So I wanted to give back and do something positive. So that's how I decided to take part in the council elections. So
Well, the result was very successful, and I think that as a city, we're all going to benefit from your position as a council member. But I have a quote here. You may recognize it, which I think sums up not only being able to project your voice in the community, but to also have a mission as well. And that is that you believe in the power of collaboration, communication, and effective networking to build strong communities. So when I was introducing you and said that your heart was in Owen Sound, I could see very, very readily that you were bringing the skill set to our community of collaboration to build a stronger community. And that is where we all have a voice at different levels within our frame of reference. But now you're at having an opportunity where your voice is at the council level.
Yeah.
So do you feel at this point that you're actually being heard, or is this because it's still relatively new, are you feeling that you're still on a learning journey?
Mary Jane, when I decided to participate in the municipal elections, the major reason was like there is so much in our communities that we all like. I feel different communities, different agencies are working on some of the common goals and on some of the common problems that exist in our community. And I always feel if each community or each committee that exists around there, if they are able to support a common goal I think if we all join forces together, we can do wonders and get rid of a lot of problems that exist in our municipalities, just like any other municipalities. Like we are not the only ones, right? So I think that was one thing from where I think that, if we work collaboratively, and if we listen to each other, if we respect each other's opinions, and we can all go towards a positive goals, right? So at the council, when I joined, I knew it would be a learning curve, but I did not know that it would be a huge learning curve as far as the bylaws, procedures, and the decorum of things go on at the council level. So, but I'm very thankful to some of the orientations that I received when I was newly elected. I think the protocol ensured that we all know what we are landing up into, right? So from the couple past council meetings, I do feel that my voice is respected at a certain time, because you get to play a key factor in deciding some of the common things that affect people, right? So whether or not everything that you voice your concern with, it gets accepted or it gets rejected, right? But you have the satisfaction in your heart that you tried.
Well, that yes, and the fact that it's an opportunity to speak up in a very respectful way.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a difference when you're working at a council level. Everyone comes with a different perspective, a different set of experiences. And when we value particularly the voice of women coming at that level, because women come with a very different skill set and a very different set of background experiences that are really important to be heard. And the result can be better when there are women sitting around whatever table they want to sit around and express their points of view. It just seems to be a better outcome in the end. But what I just want you to reflect a little bit about what you have learned about yourself through this journey.
Well, I have learned one key thing, that I have a lot of patience that I think or thought I would generally have, right? So that I always thought that I would not have that much patience to deal with certain situations in life. So one thing personally, that patience. Second thing, I have learned to listen before I make my opinions, right? I have learned the value of not jumping up to conclusions, right? Because what the other person's perspective is, right? It might be, I might have a perspective which is very dear to me, right? But sometimes you don't see the perspective from where the other individual is coming from. So even during the elections, it was when I spoke to a couple of people, you would not, as a human being, as a commoner, the brain would not go into those directions, right? So I think what I've learned is what I've discovered about myself is patience, and what I've learned is to listen and not jump to conclusions, right? And I have like I always say, I do have a positive approach, but yes, now I feel that this positive approach, right, is there to change a few things. Or as a woman, I have a voice in some of the important facts that affect all of us, maybe as women, maybe as individuals. So yeah, I think that's what I'm coming from.
Okay. So do you have any words of wisdom for women who may be thinking about taking on some challenges in their life, that are really sort of hesitant to do that, and sometimes women don't feel that they're worthy of, putting themselves out there. There's a lot of fear, I think, sometimes, and maybe not fear, but a lack of confidence would probably be a better word about putting themselves out there. So do you have any words of wisdom to encourage other women?
Yes, I do. My first advice to all women out there is believe in yourself, right? And I think I am a live example, being trying different careers back home in India, uh, changing a complete lifestyle to a different lifestyle, venturing into unknown territory. Don't be afraid. What's the worst thing that could happen, right? It's better worth trying than sitting and thinking about it of the fear of the unknown. There should never be a fear of unknown. We took the leap to move to Canada, right? I took the leap to work at two different workplaces where I still struggled a little with language. It was the workplace culture was completely different. I came back from a different workplace culture, right? Nothing was my comfort zone. Simple things as far as driving. In India, you drive on the other side of the road. Here in Canada, you drive on the other side of the road, right? So I can do it in my late 30s. I think each one of you, if you're firm believers of yourself, I think we as women, we underestimate ourselves, right? And I think there should be no fear of the unknown. Just do it. What's the worst thing that could happen, right?
Wow.
And I feel like, I'm at a certain stage. I always motivate my daughter. She's like, can I do this? Yes, sure, go ahead, right? As long as there is a legitimate, if it's a legitimate request, I'm like, yes, go ahead, do it. So I think we all need to believe in ourselves and do things. And believe me, what you as an individual, as a woman can do it, it's mind-blowing.
Well, we can change the world. What can I say? But we're coming to the very end of the show. It's amazing how quickly 30 minutes goes by. And I wanted to ask you this little pop question. That's all we have time for, is what brings you joy in your life?
The best thing that brings me joy is the fact that I'm able to help, right? So I am maybe in any way, I'm a people's person. So what brings me joy is if I feel that my life or any moment of my life, I have helped an individual do something better or make them feel better. So that brings me immense joy.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Suneet, for this opportunity to have this conversation with you. And please stay tuned and next time for another amazing journey on Her Story.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.